Auburn continues to dominate Georgia on the hardwood. Let's talk about it on this live edition of the Uptempo podcast. Yes, sir. Good morning, Auburn family. Good morning, Uptempo gang. Dustin Smith and Blake Lane. Another edition of the Uptempo podcast. Blake, I don't ever get tired of beating Georgia, dude. I don't ever get tired of beating Georgia. Auburn beats Georgia yesterday on the basketball court again. Fifth time in a row. 13 of the last 16. Feels pretty good, man. 82-70, but we had to grind it out a little bit. It's kind of been what we've seen this last, I don't know, probably say 2 weeks, where Auburn's really just not playing all that great, offensively anyway, and still finding a way to win. And I'll say this real quick, guys, I'm not surprised by this because some of these teams are playing, Arkansas, Georgia, they're kind of sitting there on that bubble where a win over Auburn makes their season. Like it could possibly put them in the tournament. So Auburn's playing teams that are fighting for their lives and still getting the dub. But looking back at this, another hard-fought game versus a tough Georgia team, Blake, what are your thoughts as we come away with this 82-70 dub?
Well, I'll start with you brought Arkansas up real quick. Everybody told us in the world of Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it that Arkansas sucks. They're terrible, right? There's no way we should have played that close with Arkansas. Y'all, Arkansas beat Missouri last night. Arkansas is better than the 16-11 record that sits to their name. And we told y'all that. We told you it was going to be a good game. We told you Arkansas was going to come into Neville and play Auburn close. Like Dustin just said, these teams are on the bubble. They're trying to fight for their life to get into the NCAA tournament. And if Arkansas would have beat Auburn, they would have gotten in. But guess what? They beat Missouri. That boosted the resume. Missouri just beat Alabama. That boosted Arkansas's resume. And then the selection committee is probably going to look and say, hey, man, they played Auburn pretty close. This is a team that's gotten better each week. Here's Georgia. This is their opportunity. They were going to play Auburn tough too. And they did. And they've got some guys. That Newell kid, I mean, that dude, he's a hooper.
Thanks.
Kane, a hooper. Like, they got some dudes over there, man. This just isn't, I said this all year, is South Carolina gets a lot of hate for being the worst team in the league, right, Dustin? I think if you put South Carolina in the ACC, I'm not going to say they're competing for an ACC title, but they're middle of the road in the ACC, and they're winning a lot more games than what they are in the SEC this year. All right.
Yeah.
And they've already beat Clemson on the year. So your worst team in the SEC that you want to down and throw shade on is probably, in the 5 to 6 range in the ACC. That's just how I feel about it. That's how I feel the SEC is that strong. And so yesterday, while I'm watching this game, did we have our best offensive performance? No. But you want to know how Auburn wins basketball games this year? It's in many different ways, y'all. They can put 90 on you or they can put 50 on you. And when they put 50 on you, they're going to hold you to 45. If they put 90 on you, they're going to hold you to 70. You want to know why? Because they play defense. They strap it up on the defensive end, man. The first half shooting was atrocious. It was something that when I got home yesterday and I sat down and I rewatched the first half and I said, oh man, that's tough. And I get where people are coming from when they're like, man, it just looks like we're kind of lazy these last couple games and, we're not playing well. But that second half, it turned up, right, Dustin? Like the second half was great basketball from the Auburn Tigers. And one thing I do want to touch on, Denver Jones, Hooper, a guy that has really stepped his game up these past couple weeks for the Auburn Tigers. This is a guy who was, people were like, man, Denver's been terrible. The past 3-4 games, Denver has stepped up for this basketball team. Look, we can talk about CBM. We can talk about CBM and his little scuffle. And I'll tell you real quick, I don't think CBM was at fault yesterday. I think CBM stood his ground. I think CBM didn't let somebody punk him in a close game. And what I want to see from officiating is, hey, it's a rivalry game. Let's check that and keep moving. All right. It's a rivalry game. A lot of these kids, they're from either Alabama or Georgia, man. Like,
yeah,
there's dudes on Auburn's roster that are from Georgia. And it's a rivalry game. The Deep South's oldest rivalry. Just keep it pushing, man. There's no reason to go to the thing and have a 4-minute review on something that silly. It didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Chaney Johnson had a rough day yesterday. Rough day. 11 minutes. He fouled. He stayed in foul trouble. It was just a really, really poor performance from Chaney, but he's had so many heaters the last couple of weeks, Dustin, that, you're bound to have an off one. Tahad Pettiford, you got to get back on your game, brother. Made a couple good passes yesterday, a couple nice finds to Janai. They're late, but as far as shooting the ball, Todd's been off the last two, man. But I know it's coming back. Like I said earlier in the year, if Auburn wants to win the national championship, I know Janai's going to get his, but Tahad's got to lead the way, man. Tahad's got to be that guy off the bench. He's got to be that sixth man. Everybody always needs that sixth man off the bench, and Tahad's got to be that guy. But for Auburn to have those off nights from Chaney and Tahad and still win by double digits, I mean, that should tell you right there this team's different. And I get it. Y'all think it's lazy and you think that, oh, we're not playing our best. We're just that good.
Yeah.
We're just that good. And, we were in the game day group chat yesterday talking about, are we feeling some type of way, Dustin, because we're beating Georgia by 12 and we're complaining about it?
Yeah, it comes off. And I know it's not every Auburn fan out there.
Yeah.
I think it just, I don't know. It's definitely not a black and white thing. Like, I think there's things that you can criticize and say, hey, like we said, Auburn's not playing up to their potential these last couple of weeks. So it's fair to say, hey, this is not going well, or you're not doing this right, or whatever. But yeah, some of just the outright complaining that goes on, or has been going on lately, is it kind of comes off to me like Alabama football fans.
Yeah.
And I don't, I hope that we don't get to that point as a fan base. I don't think we are, but there definitely is a section of Auburn fans out there that are really spoiled, and I'm kind of confused by that because we still don't have a chip.
Yeah,
like this program still is really, really hungry, so we should still be really happy about every win. And look, I care about this kind of stuff, guys. I do. Auburn leads the all-time series 104-97 over Georgia. Bruce Pearl's now 5-7 versus Georgia as Auburn's head coach. Yep. 13 of the last 16, 5-game winning streak. Somebody, I'll shoot you. Remind me when we get done recording, Blake. I'll shoot you the text. You'll get a kick out of this. Somebody hit me up on Twitter this morning and said, I don't think you should talk trash about Georgia on your show today, seeing as to how we've only beat them 1 out of 10 times in football. I said, buddy, we're not doing a football show this morning. We're doing a basketball show, and Auburn has absolutely worked Georgia in basketball. So whenever Auburn and Georgia play in any athletic event and Auburn wins, it's a good day. And if you look at it and you see the 104-97 overall there, and look at Bruce Pearl at 15-7, do the math. The series was close. It was a close series because. Look, we can't be. This is my other thing too that kind of got on my nerves yesterday in the middle of the game when some people were starting to complain, like, why is this game close? It's Georgia.
They're good.
They're good, but Blake, if they sucked, it's just when Auburn plays Georgia in something, probably gonna be close, man.
Like, it's a rivalry.
It's probably gonna be a dogfight. And like you said, they are a good team, and they are a well-coached team that was fighting for their lives. So, that part, man, like, big shout out to Bruce for dominating this rivalry. It's always nice. I mean, 13-16 is really good, and they're building a program over there. Like I know they've been down for a little bit, but they're building a program. So like the entire SEC is. So it's a big time win from that aspect. And when you talk about the little scuffle that happened, it's funny if you think back to the USA Canada hockey game last week where the 3 fights broke out in 9 seconds. Some stupid reporter, the first question they asked John Cooper, Canada's coach, in the post game was, "Do you think there's any place for that in hockey, especially in international competition?" And he kind of rolled his eyes and he said, "Did anybody get up and leave the building?"
No, I think people wanted to come in.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's Auburn versus Georgia, man. Because like we just talked about on the last episode, CBM always seems to be involved. There's definitely a discussion to be had there. I don't really want to have that one today because we just talked about it. But I had no problem with it, man. It's Auburn, Georgia. Like it is what it is. I'm completely with you, Blake. We don't need a 5-minute review here. Hey, you get over there. Hey, you get over here. Let's calm down. Boys will be boys, and let's play some basketball. But there's the big what you got here, because I think the big thing that came out of yesterday is Janai Broome.
Oh yeah. My thing with CBM is in that spot of the game, you can't let somebody punk you on your court.
Right.
You can't let somebody just walk up and put their hand. Man, as a man, you have a zone. All right, you don't get in my area, dog. All right, and when you do get in that area, you can't let somebody punk you. And I don't care if we're playing badminton, soccer, or whatever. Can't let somebody punk you, especially in your house. Would you let another man come in your home and punk you? No. So I don't. This one ain't on. This one ain't on CBM. I can't put this one on him. I think he took up for a teammate, and I agree with CBM. I think it was great. But let me tell you something.
Before you get off of this, let me ask you. So would you be more concerned, right, if he didn't react that way? Like if you allowed it to go on, that's when you really start asking some questions about your team, right?
100%. I would have said, hey, all right, where'd the CBM go? Where'd that CBM go? All right, like I told y'all the other night, it's not that I want CBM to change or be different. I just want him to pick his spots better. All right. I don't want you to change. I don't want you to bring the energy, lack the energy or don't bring it at all. I just want you to pick your spots a little bit better. That's it. I don't want you to change who you are. Don't ever do that. Don't change the type of player you are. Just pick your spots on how to talk trash a little better. But yesterday, when you stood up for yourself and your teammates, I ride with that. And as far as Janai Broome, dog, the case is closed. It's over. It's done. National Player of the Year. And he still got stuff to put on the resume. You still got to go to Rupp. You still got to go to Buzz Williams and A&M. You still got Bama at home. There's still food on the platter for Janai Broome to absolutely eat over these next 2 weeks. I think what he did last night just speaks to another way Auburn can beat you. And I see, I think that was Make Auburn Great Again. His comment was saying that Auburn doesn't have to rely just on one or two guys. There it is, man. I mean, look at that. How many times, it takes you back to that Jabari and Kessler year where we just, it just really felt like if it wasn't for them two, we would be trash. And this year, you have a team where Miles Kelly can snipe you out the building. CBM can get hot. Denver can get hot. You can keep going with Chaney and off dribble mid range. He can get hot. Oh man! Sometimes, hell, you see Cardwell dump 15 in. I just there's so many options on this team. You even got Tahad, man. Like they can beat you in so many different ways. And then when Janai gets 30, it's really a wrap, man. And what he's doing, assist wise, rebounding wise, you can't match that. And I get people on TikTok, man. They always, this one guy, he said, well, you say that Janai's stats, they're unmatched. And he was like, but him and Cooper literally have the same stats. And I said, well, let's look at the conferences they play in. All right. this takes me back to I know my boy Tanner's going to hate this, but this takes me back to the Ashton Genty and the Travis Hunter thing, okay? Ashton Genty's great, y'all. He was great. But he was playing in the Mountain West every week, all right? And if y'all go follow my boy Brad Lester, and he'll tell you a little bit about it, okay? Cooper's great, y'all. I know he's going to be the number one pick. He's the best NBA prospect in college. That's awesome. But he's doing it in a conference that might only get 4 teams into the tournament. They're terrible, y'all. They haven't played a ranked matchup, I think, since they played Auburn, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
I believe that's
one other team.
Yeah. I might be missing one right there, but what Janai is doing is unmatched, in my opinion, because you're literally going up against the best of the best on Tuesdays, sometimes Wednesdays, and Saturdays. Each and every week, you're getting the best of the best. And if you think I'm lying, go check the Florida and LSU game yesterday. If you think LSU is trash, go look at that. Florida was on the ropes, folks. They were on the ropes. And everybody's going to hit you with, oh, Florida was struggling. No. LSU is just really good, but it doesn't look like it because they play in that good of a conference, man. They're a good basketball team. And this conference, Jay Billis said it's the best conference he's ever seen in his life. And that is coming from a guy who played at Duke, and he's been covering college basketball for some hella years. It's the best conference he's ever seen. So for you to sit here and try to still create this argument of Cooper Flagg being better this year than Janai Broome, I don't get it, because what Janai is doing is unheard of, in my opinion. Like, it's just each and every game he makes his presence felt for Auburn. And you're doing it at a program too, where it's like, man, we've had spurts here and there where we've been good. You know, we got Chuck, but we ain't no Duke. We ain't even close to Duke. And Janai, the development that happened and everything, like him transferring in and just continually getting better and better, it just speaks to this season and how great he's been. And you already go check my TikTok out. You already know how I feel about the whole age debate. Y'all can shove that one right up the rear end, man. Like, don't even that just whatever. Clemson was ranked. Were they ranked when they played Duke? That might have been the one that we missed. But I just think Janai's the guy, man. I think he deserves the award. Don't take it from him. It's his. He's played in the best conference all year. He's put up these numbers all year. The double-doubles speak for themselves. Like I said, the blocks, the assist, the passes. That pass to Miles Kelly the other night was one of the nastiest things. Oh, that's a 4 making that pass.
Yeah.
That's a 4 making that pass. And I can tell you this. Everybody wants to get in my comments on TikTok and say Janai's not getting drafted and all this. If he keeps shooting the 3 ball, the way he's shooting it right now, if he can stay above 30%, he's getting drafted. It might be in the second round, but he's getting drafted, and he's going to get a shot at the NBA. Because like I always tell you, you got to be able to shoot to stay in the NBA. And if he can step away from the basket and make shots, he can play in the NBA. There it is.
I think it's really funny from the ACC's perspective that they dominated basketball for so long, and the SEC decided to take it serious.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, they're an afterthought. All of a sudden, all the good athletes are coming to the SEC. Yep. The transfer portal opens up, and now all of a sudden, teams like Auburn can take advantage of it and bolster their roster, bringing in guys like Broome and Denver Jones and all that. Just find it interesting. I know there's a narrative out there right now that the SEC football is down. We'll see when draft day comes around how much that holds up. I think the SEC is going to be just fine. and is by far the best football league. It's by far the best baseball league, and it is by far the best basketball league. I was watching two Big 12 teams yesterday go at it in Houston and Iowa State, and I thought, man, these are some really good basketball teams. If only there was a team that beat both of these. Oh, yeah. And who went off in both of those games?
Yep.
Janai Broome. And the thing with Broome, you look back at yesterday, he goes 7 for 7 in the second half. Let me read his whole stat line off here. 11 for 18 in 36 minutes, 2 for 3 from the three-point line, 7 of 11 from the free throw line. That's what I need every time from him. Just give me that. 14 rebounds, 4 assists to 1 turnover, 2 blocks, 31 points. He's not turning the ball over. The 4 assists, like you said, from your power forward, that's huge. And they're good assists. And look who he's throwing that out to. And think about what position you're putting the defense in. He's going off. He's 4 for 4 at this point in the second half. He's starting to back you down in the post. You got to double.
Yeah.
And then, he whips one across the court to Denver Jones, who buries one in the corner. Like there's not anything you can do with it. And to make Auburn great against point, this is the one thing that I worried about in this whole National Player of the Year debate, is that maybe there would just be some games where, as an Auburn fan, we like it, where these other guys get hot and it kind of takes a little bit away from Janai's overall shine and maybe his overall stats. I think the thing that was so important about yesterday is, one, rivalry games matter in college. You will be remembered for how you perform in rivalry games.
Yeah.
And we're going to be remembered, like he's going to remember the last time he played Georgia at home. He put on a show. But closing it out the way he did in the second half, there was a game, which one it slips my mind. Maybe it was earlier in the week, but a game recently where we were tied late. He comes in, makes a big and one, and then makes his free throw. Like there's just several times this year when we need Janai, he makes the play. And I just think that yesterday, they always talk about in football that Heisman moment.
Yep.
I think that second half yesterday was his moment where they can go back and look and say, hey, man, it's no disrespect to Cooper Flagg. He is a great player. But despite all of the other great players on Auburn, and then Auburn's got a bunch of guys that can go off at any point in time, Janai, when we need him, hey, you got to be the guy today. You got, like, nobody else has it today. It's got to be you. You got to be the best player on the court. Okay, watch this. I won't miss a field goal in the second half. That's how good I am. I won't miss a field goal in the second half. And I'll put the team on my back. And look, we know, like, I don't know what percentage he is as far as health-wise, but it definitely looks like every game as the game goes on, that ankle gets kind of aggravated and sore. And by the end of it, he's limping around. So we know he's out there beating and banging. He's definitely kind of getting this treatment from the refs where they're letting some stuff go. They're letting less skilled guys foul him a little bit before they call it, which is something you kind of saw with a guy like Shaq back in the day, where it's just you got to deal with it kind of thing. And I'm fine with that. I wish they would call it more both ways, but that's more so of just SEC basketball officiating being the worst officiated conference in any sport I've ever seen. I used to think there was like an anti-Auburn agenda. But like now I'm starting to like know these refs' name, and I watch them in other SEC games, and like I watched Pat Adams ref an LSU Kentucky game on a Tuesday night, and it takes 3.5 hours, and he has no idea what the bonus is and everything else in that game too. And I'm like, maybe that guy just sucks. But look, Janai, he's been taking a beating down there all year, but going 7-11 from the free throw line, that's kind of the big thing for me, because you know that he's going to get his opportunities there. So yeah, man, I just think that he put a big stamp on the game yesterday. And look, I was wrong, Blake. I said Auburn was going to come out and blow them out by 20, and I thought we were going to shoot for 85, 90 points. I thought we were, because in my brain, Auburn's not going to shoot the ball bad again in Neville Arena after the other night versus Arkansas, and we did. But here's the thing. It's about effort. And if you want to, how do you measure the effort? How do you quantify the effort? Look at the rebounding these past 2 games. Auburn hasn't shot the ball well at all, but we're killing them on the glass. And Miles Kelly, I'm going to say it again, not shooting the ball well, a shooter. That's frustrating. There are guys throughout, in basketball that are spot up shooters. And if he's not knocking it down, like JJ Redick, if JJ Redick wasn't knocking down the shot for you, he ain't doing nothing for you. He ain't helping you out then. That's not Miles Kelly, man. Like, he's not been shooting the ball well over the last week or two, and he's still locked down, and he goes out there and grabs you 8 rebounds again in a game where you got to have every one of those rebounds. And that just kind of speaks to just the way this team plays basketball, man. And, yeah, as we got this remaining stretch, like you said, Janai's got plenty more examples and plenty more opportunities to put out there, hey, like, I'm that dude. But I think anybody watching the second half yesterday, that's your national player of the year. He is the best player in college basketball, and that would just be such a massive award for his program to win, man.
Did you say a 6'6" guard grabbing 8 boards, Dustin? I mean,
crazy, ain't it?
Crazy. I've thrown it out there multiple times about getting 6'6" guards and 6'4" guards, 6'5" guards. It's how championships are won, and we're finally going to that route, right? It's good to see. But man, I completely agree with Janai and him winning this award. One thing I do want to talk about, and it was really funny to me yesterday, is Janai goes off in the game, and I see everybody on Twitter saying, retire number 4. Retire number 4. Nobody should ever wear it. Build him a statue next to Chuck. Dog, y'all were just 2 months ago saying that Deuce Knight should wear number 2. That retiring numbers was stupid. And I don't get it. So, like, Janai, I'm cool with 4 getting retired. I think it would be badass for Auburn for you to just don't when you go to retire his number, just make sure it's the right way, not upside down like Illinois did it the other night. But
that's bad. Yeah, that
was bad. I'm all good with 4 going to the rafters, but I think the switch up is a little crazy because 2 months ago we're all wanting Deuce to wear 2. Look, just say you were saying that because you wanted to get Deuce to campus. Okay, it's okay. It's okay. Deuce can wear 12. All right. But it's
hey, now Brandon Cox 4-0 versus Alabama, Blake.
Yeah, bro. What a dog. What a dog. Hey, what a day. They always ask me like, man, who is your true guy? Like, who was that dude that you would just ride with? And I was like, bro, you never knew what you were gonna get, but I would ride with that Brandon Cox. And but yeah, that Brandon Cox was awesome, man. I always felt like he truly cared about Auburn and he loved Auburn and he was going to fight tooth and nail for whatever he had to do to make sure that orange and blue was on top. And if he had an absolute dog crap game, you best believe the next one was going to be an absolute heater, and it's just an Auburn man, a warrior. And hey, I would love for Janai Broome to get a statue. I would love for Janai Broome to take us to the national championship. And I would love to see number 4 go into the rafters. I really would. I think, you got to start the debate, man. Like, it's got the conversations come. We have the Kobe, LeBron, Mike. We have that thing. All right. Well, now you got to start the Chuck and Broome debate. And I know everybody wants to get mad about going at Chuck, and it's the same way people are when people say, oh, LeBron and MJ. All the old heads are like, oh, don't start that argument. It's the same way they're going to be with Chuck. But Broome deserves to be in the discussion. It's a fun discussion to have. And it's good for Auburn basketball, y'all. It's good for recruiting, because a couple months ago you told us that Bruce cared more about politics than he did recruiting.
Wasn't gonna get nobody.
Yeah, wasn't gonna get these kids and all this. Bruce didn't care about the kids. He cared more about politics and all this stuff. Man, get out of here, dog. Bruce Pearl loves each and every one of them kids, and I think it shows. So, hell of a coach, hell of a team, hell of a player that deserves National Player of the Year. You got Ole Miss coming to town this week. Go dominate, man. Do not let them beat us in our building. That's the last thing. That's the last thing I want to see is Ole Miss talking trash to us in our house. Go handle business.
Yeah, I don't want to lose any more at home. I'm definitely scared of that trip to College Station.
Yeah.
We know the deal with Buzz.
Yeah, Buzz got our number.
For whatever reason,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, he's got us down. I do want to, on the second part of this, on this maybe Broome is the GOAT of AU basketball. A long postseason run.
Yep.
This is why I always throw Bryce Brown's name in the discussion, because Bryce Brown played at Auburn for a long time. He produced at Auburn for a multitude of years, and he went on a deep postseason run and was like an integral part of it and won like a lot of postseason games. So that's where that's kind of like Broome's. That's the next step. He's got one win in the tournament. I don't put, the losses on him, but when you start getting to this whole GOAT debate, you start kind of, picking hairs there. And so yeah, Janai's got. I know Chuck didn't have. That's why it's an open discussion. Like Chuck's obviously the most talented. He's in the NBA Hall of Fame and all that. But as far as just legacy at Auburn, it's a wide open debate right now. I mean, you look at a guy like Jabari, and he was great and high draft pick and all this, but he won one tournament game and got blown out in the second one. So it's there for somebody to take. And if Janai can make that run to the Final Four and win National Player of the Year, and I think if he wins the national championship, then he like locks it down. You know, if he goes off and we go to the Final Four and Janai is like the player of the Final Four and goes off to the national championship, then it's no debate at all. But he's definitely pushing, man. He's definitely pushing. It's a fun conversation to have, because that's kind of the next step for even Bruce Pearl's tenure at Auburn, is that we do really well in the regular season. And we're not trying to be spoiled and sit here and say, well, we're not Kentucky fans where it's like, if you don't make the Final Four, it's a disappointment. But like, you had no business losing to Yale last year. And even though Houston was better the year before, you had a double-digit lead in the second half.
No doubt.
And you blew that. And then you were number one for a long time with 2 draft picks and Walker Kessler and Jabari's, and you didn't even get to the Sweet 16 there. So it's becoming a thing. It's becoming a thing. So that's kind of the next step for this program. And I think that if Janai is able to come in there, man, and have a big tournament and we make a deep run, I think he could lock in that greatest player at Auburn of all time. I want to breeze through some of these comments. So I'll hit that thumbs up button before we get out of here. Share this out on social media and subscribe if you haven't. Jason says we have won 13 of 16 against the Mutts. War damn Eagle. Yeah, dude. Pretty sweet feeling. Basketball, baseball, tennis, gymnastics, equestrian. I don't really give a damn. They weren't barking at any of the Auburn fans yesterday when the Auburn fans were walking out of the arena. So it's always weird, man. Yeah, they're a strange bunch. And Blake knows this. When we started doing the pod, I hated Georgia more than I hated Alabama. I was one of those guys. Now it has changed because of becoming a content creator and interacting with the amount of Alabama fans that I do now. Alabama has definitely vaulted to the top. But always hated Georgia. That is never going to change. Rebel Yell says Trey Donaldson sure would be nice right now. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, then do you have Miles Kelly? Do you have Tahad Pettifer? Like the makeup of the whole team looks different. So we could say that. Like, would we trade Trey for JP Pegues right now? Yes, absolutely. But does any of that even kind of happen? How has this roster become constructed? And so it's not necessarily just that black and white. But I do hear what you're saying. And shout out to Trey. He was one of my favorite players at Auburn, and he's balling up in Michigan. Tahad will show up when it matters most, just like we've seen all year. I hope you're right. I know he's a clutch player. I know he's big time. I think sometimes with even the most talented of freshmen, you can come in, and I think it's just physicality, right? Especially in this year's SEC, where a guy like Tahad, I don't know how many of y'all have ever been to an AAU tournament. It ain't very physical.
Yeah,
okay? It ain't very physical, and high school it can be. There can be games where it gets tight. 2 rivals are playing. High school refs are all right, we'll let them play tonight, stuff like that. But what I'm saying is, man, night in, night out, Tahad has never had to face this, where every 3 or 4 days I'm getting smashed when I go to the lane. And, you see sometimes he'll go to the lane and Could be a foul, maybe not. He doesn't get the call. He kind of looked up at the ref like, what the hell? And they're going back down the court. So I think that's just, that could be a lot of it. And that's why you've seen him come off the bench. And that's the good thing about having a team with so many veterans on it, is that they can help him get through it and all that kind of stuff. And we're not dependent on the true freshman guard every single night. But if Auburn's going to win a national championship, then we need the real Tahad Pettiford to stand up. So, I hope you're right with that comment. And I think we will. I just think, it's a long season. It's a physical league, and he's probably going through some of that. And look, I mean, we got to call it like we see it. I hate it. I'm sure he's a good kid and a great person and all that, but missing on JP Pegues, that hurts. And it wasn't a bad get, right? Like, he balled out last year. When we got him, I thought, hey, this guy can play that McCormick role and help us out. But it just wasn't there, Blake.
Yeah. That's what sucks, is that's the Trey Donaldson comment is, it hurts, man, but it's not going to happen. Right. So you just gotta keep pushing along. And we know Tahad, he stepped in and played the point. I think he's done really well. He's just in a short little slump right now. It happens. It happens in all sports. You're going to slump. You're going to have bad moments. You're going to have bad games. It is what it is. He'll break out of it. And, I always say that Tahad shows up in the brightest moments. He shows up. And we saw that in Tuscaloosa, right? You saw it when it mattered. Clutch game. You saw it against in Maui against like Iowa State and teams like that, man. Tahad always showed up. In Cameron Indoor, Tahad showed up. Without Tahad in Cameron Indoor, that game, it was teeter-tottering along, like 8. What was it? They had like a 7-8 point lead at one point.
Yeah, it was getting there.
Yeah, and old buddy was just shooting the lights out of it, and here comes Tahad, just bang, bang, sniper action real quick. So, he'll be there for the long run, man. He'll be there for the long run, and he'll make up for these two bad ones, and he'll get his shot back. So I think we'll be fine. It's I think some of this team and some of these fans, like, I think we're just kind of getting bored with the regular season. And I think that's where some of all this, talk comes from, is some of the aggravation and all that. Like, this team's just beating people. They're just winning. And it's just like, man, get to the postseason. But for me, I don't want to go that far along yet, because I want to cherish what's happening in this season right now. So I enjoy the close games. I enjoy the battles. In my opinion, it makes you better for the tournament. For you to get everybody's best shot and you still find a way to win close games, like when you lost the lead against Arkansas the other night, you immediately go down and get a bucket to get the lead back and you never lose it again. That is facing that adversity. That's running through that brick wall and finding a way to win a game. And I've enjoyed every second of it. I know it hasn't been the prettiest. You put the mustard on the hot dog, showboating like CBM with the pass to Janai yesterday, even though Janai walked the country mile. We're not going to talk about that, but my buddy packed a suitcase on that one. But it was nice. It was nice. And traveling just isn't called the way it used to be called. So, now there's a whole conversation about you get this gather step and all that crap.
Hey, it used to be if you came up the court back when I was playing and you took the ball and you stopped for a brief second, carry.
I watched
nowadays.
Luka.
I see boys just like they're walking up to a table to serve them.
I watched Luka last night. He come across the timeline, and he was sitting there, and literally just, it was up at his head, and I was like, brother, he just carried. And the official's standing right there, and he's just like looking right at it. And I'm like, call it, man. Like, don't get me wrong. I love Luka and everything. And I think that trade kind of energized the NBA a little bit, but like, call the carry. He carried. It's just, it sometimes when I see these Euro steps and everything, and I'm like, brother, he took 4 steps. All right. And they're like, well, you get a gather step. And I was like, okay, 4 minus 1 is 3. He took 3 steps. Still a travel, dog. Man. Like, you only get 2. All right. And it's just, I don't know. It's different, but it was a hell of a play. Cardwell on that block right there. They were trying to throw it back, and Cardwell gets it, makes the home run pass. CBM with a nice dish to Broome. It was great and all that good stuff. But I've enjoyed every second of it, Dustin. I think it's awesome that Auburn basketball is elite, and you're in the presence of Duke, and you're fighting for that number one spot. And you've lost 2 games out of 27, y'all. Cherish it. Soak it all in, man. Blake, the Luka talk is too soon. Hey, man, love Luka to the Lakers. I think that's big for basketball. But yeah.
I'm glad you said that, man, because and me and you talked about this off air in our text and everything way before the season. I told you, like, for me, the fan in me just is really going to lock in once the tournament starts, just because of I know how good this team is going to be. I didn't know they were going to be this good. I did not know that we were going to be at this point in the season with that schedule and only have 2 losses. That has been a shot. But yeah, there is that part of me that has to kind of battle that because of the way last year ended. Where I'm like, man, we got unfinished business. You got to get me to that tournament. But you make a great point there, man. Like, we need to be cherishing it because this is the golden age of Auburn basketball. It's not going to get better than this. We're in what, this is the best it's going to be, and we're number 1 in the country, so it don't get much better. So we need to cherish it. We need to enjoy it, man. Jay Jacobs, what a move, big dog. What a move. What a move. Hat tip to you. Thank you, man. And another great crowd yesterday at Neville, and so just really proud of this basketball program and where we continue to go. Got Ole Miss this week. I will not be on any of the content this week, guys. I'm gonna go on a little vacation. Go down to Tampa, watch my Bolts play. Watch the evil hockey players fighting and all that whole crazy narrative that's come out of that, man. But yeah, Blake's gonna bump out the content for you guys. So be tuned in, smash that thumbs up button, sub to the channel, share this out, and we'll see you guys next time. It's War Damn Eagle, baby. It's a hell with the Georgia Bulldogs, y'all.
War Damn, baby.